The world has to take a stand against the use of human shields. The ones who need to be blamed for putting missile batteries next to hospitals, next to schools, and to put civilians in harm's way are those who are perpetrating this war crime. It's a war crime, and that's Hamas. So the blame for these civilian deaths should be laid at the doorstep of Hamas. If the international community does that, the chances of Hamas using this tactic and feeling they'll get away with it, feeling they'll achieve their objectives, will go down, and the chances of them doing it again will go down. Hopefully the world will back Israel's right to defend itself. There was strong statements from Chancellor Merkel in Germany, from President Hollande of France, from Prime Minister Cameron, from Prime Minister Harper, as I said, President Obama, bipartisan in the American Congress across the world, because everybody understands what, imagine that you had 200 million people, Americans in bomb shelters. What do you think the American people would demand that their government and military do against a terror organization who's firing rockets from contiguous territory? It's not like we don't know who's doing it. They're admitting that they're doing it. They're saying they're going to continue to do it and continue these attacks. So there has been very, very strong backing. What I hope will happen in addition to that strong backing is a strong opposition to the use of human shields. If anything good can come of this, maybe it will be beginning of a change, that terror organizations around the world know that their calls will be set back if they keep civilians in harm's way, that they're not going to blame the democratic country, in this case Israel, that's fighting against these terrorists. They will blame the terrorists for using human shields. It has to be seen as an illegitimate tool of war. We don't have somebody on the other side who's willing to stop firing. I don't know what will happen if Hamas decides in 10 minutes or an hour or in a day to actually completely cease fire. But right now we're in a situation where we've accepted a ceasefire virtually unilaterally, and then hours later Hamas fires all these rockets, so we have to take the action in order to defend ourselves. They're obviously not interested. They're interested in continuing their war against Israel and continuing to fire these rockets indiscriminately, by the way. They're just targeting as many civilians as possible, and not only targeting our civilians, they're hiding behind their civilians, and they're putting their missile batteries next to schools, hospitals, mosques, and we're trying to strike at these rocket batteries and terrorists in a very, very targeted way and keep the civilians out of harm's way. One of the problems we have is when we're trying to keep their civilians out of harm's way, Hamas is telling Palestinians in the Gaza Strip to go into harm's way. They're actually telling their population to ignore the warnings of our military because we drop flyers, we make phone calls, we send text messages. We do things I'm not sure there's another country in the history of the world in warfare that have gone to such great lengths to keep the civilians of the other side's population out of harm's way. We're doing it, but we have to take the action to defend our people.